I speak to you in the name of one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Has someone ever said something to you, a word or a phrase or an idea that just kind of got lodged in your head and you couldn't get rid of? This happens to me frequently, but it happened to me once 15 years ago at a bachelor party. Don't go there. Where a friend of mine talked to me about the concept of pocket real estate. When you've been friends since you're in middle school, you run out of things to talk about, so you talk about what's in your pockets. Pocket real estate is this idea that we all have a limited amount of space for which to carry things. And we have to make a decision every day what we put in our pockets. What do we carry with us? Now, I grant you, this is not going to make sense for some of the younger folks here, but bear with me. Back in the day, before you had do everything cell phones, if you wanted to walk around and take pictures, you had to have a camera. So you had to have a camera in your pocket, right? And if you wanted to listen to music, you had to have something to listen to music on. So you had to have that in your pocket. And then something to play that would play the music. So hold on, it's coming. An iPod, right? And then obviously you also had in your wallet, keys. I didn't lose them today. You have your keys. If you wanted to have a game or something to play, again, you had a deck of cards. You put that in your pockets. And then you would have your phone if you were advanced. And that's a lot of stuff to carry. So then you got to try and economize, right? So you can maybe get a smaller camera, take up a little bit less space, a smaller music player, less space, even a smaller music player. This was my favorite little guy here. It would clip on so you could like run around with it and stuff. But you still had to have something to play the music out of, so you had to have kind of like something to carry your earphones around in. This is a little iPod case like a dinosaur. It's a lot of stuff that you're carrying with you. And so every day you kind of got to make this decision. What am I going to carry with me? What's going to be weighing me down? And am I going to have space for other stuff in my pockets? Am I going to have space for anything else I encounter? Now, fortunately, through the magic of technology and everything else, we can put a lot of this into our phones, and so we can kind of carry a phone around, and it does almost everything here, which I find ironic that now people try and get the biggest phone possible, which I don't understand. We should have smaller phones to have more extra space in our pockets. At this point, you're thinking, why is he talking so much about the stuff we put in our pockets? I want to suggest to you that the same kind of real estate that exists in our pockets also exists in our minds. And we should be thoughtful about what we carry in our minds. What is in the front of our mind, what's keeping us up at night, what we think about as we're just walking down the street during the day, as we're going through our daily tasks. What is on our minds? It might be kind of a shopping list. It might be the things you have to do today, a calendar. It might be someone in your life that you're worried about, something that you're going to be celebrating later, or someone you've got to go visit and see. We have lots of things that are always kind of on our minds. And some things weigh more heavily than others. And I was thinking about this in particular this week. A friend of mine had posted something on social media. They're on vacation. And they posted a picture of sort of some ruins near where they were visiting, and they had this little quip, "Oh, look, it's the east wing of the White House." And it really made me sad. Because here you are on vacation with your family in a beautiful part of the world, seeing all this wonderful, beautiful things, and all you can think about is something bad that somebody else did. All you can think about is something bad that somebody else did. The actions of the president are so much in this person's mind that that's the only thing that they think about all the time. And I worry about that for us. that we allow certain things, certain people, certain concepts to occupy so much of our mental real estate. We don't have space for other stuff. We don't have space for joy. And this is not unlike what these disciples of John are dealing with in the gospel today. We have in the gospel, John is now in prison. His disciples are with him, and either the disciples say they're going to go and figure out what's going on with this Jesus guy, or John sends them to Jesus and says, go ask him what he's doing. It's a little confusing because if you remember, John baptizes Jesus, so John knows who he is. But clearly, someone is a little concerned about this Jesus and what he's doing. Because John's followers, many of them are what are called zealots. They're looking to the overthrow of Herod as king. They want to reclaim the land of Israel for the Jewish people. And they're seeking to overthrow this tyrannical, despotic leader who's in power and making people's lives miserable. And that's all they want. So they go to Jesus and they say, are you the one? Are you the one who's going to do this for us? Or are we waiting for another? All they are thinking about is title and power. And they want to know if Jesus is the one who's going to reclaim the title and give them back power. And Jesus says, look around you. What do you see? The blind are getting their sight. The lame can walk. The sick are being healed. People are being provided comfort. They're being loved. They're finding joy. And all you can think about is your power. All you can think about is who's in charge. It's not about that. He wants them to open up space in their mind to see all the good that Christ is doing around them, to see the possibility for God's kingdom in breaking into the world. But their minds are closed to that. And so John's disciples go off, and then Jesus turns and speaks to the rest of the crowd and says, when you came out to see John, what were you looking for? Reminding them of those early days when John was out in the wilderness and he was clothed in fur and eating locusts and wild honey. What were you looking for when you went out to see this wild man in the wilderness? And he uses two kind of interesting phrases, a reed shaken by the wind and a man in soft robes. And these may not make a lot of sense to us. So the soft robes, I think, probably make sense to you. Soft robes, who would wear soft robes? People don't have to do very much, right? Royalty, people in power. And he's clearly saying, we know that John did not wear soft robes, right? Camel's hair, not soft. Anyone touched a camel? Do you want to do it again? No, right? Not soft. So they weren't going to see someone with soft robes. They weren't looking for a ruler. They weren't looking for someone in palaces, but now that's what they want. And then he says there's this reed shaken by the wind. And there's a lot of different understandings of this, but one possible interpretation is that when Herod founds the city of Tiberias, when he claims the Sea of Galilee for the Roman Empire and founds a city on the banks, he mints a coin with the reed, with a reed in the wind as its symbol, because there were lots of reeds by the Sea of Galilee. And so Jesus is pointing out that, do you want a king like Herod? Do you want another Herod? And then he says, no, you went out to see a prophet. And what does the prophet say? What does Isaiah say the Messiah looks like? That was a question. What does he say? He says, freedom of the captives, sight to the blind, the lame walking, the sick being healed, all the stuff that Jesus is doing. The same things that Jesus proclaimed in the synagogue in Nazareth, the same things that we've been reading through Isaiah here in Advent. this is what Jesus is doing. He is bringing joy, he is bringing hope, he is bringing light to the world. And that's where their energy should be. That's where our energy should be. And so when we think about where our mental real estate is, where our attention is, where our focus is, we can put our attention on some people doing bad things. We can put our attention on an unpopular leader that we don't like or some people like. We can argue about these things. Or we can put our attention where Christ directs us, to finding ways to bring hope to the hopeless, sight to the blind, freedom to the captives, to care for the prisoner and the foreigner and the stranger, to do all those things that Jesus did and Jesus instructs us to do. To do those things that bring joy to others and to us. And if that's where our energy is, we're following in John the Baptist's footsteps, we're following in Jesus' footsteps, as we are seeking to bring that light to the world. And I don't know about you, but I know that when I spend my time and my energy seeking to help others and care for others, it feels lighter. The world doesn't feel so heavy. My pockets don't feel so full of stuff, right? Because I recognize that I am in this together with others. I don't feel alone. And the good news for us is if we are sometimes overwhelmed by the events of the world around us, and we are sometimes angry at what's going on in the world around us, Jesus doesn't condemn us for that. He just reminds us where our attention should be, where our focus should be, where our work should be. So friends, in this busy time of year, as we are preparing for Christmas and holidays and family and festivities, as we are filling our pockets up with all these things, consider what space you are leaving for joy. Now I can't even find my pockets. What space you are leaving for caring for others. What space you are leaving to bring light to the world, to bring hope to the hopeless, sight to the blind, freedom to the captives, care for the foreigner and the stranger and the lost. And if we can set ourselves at that work, at that joyful, life-giving, spirit-filled work, we know we walk with Jesus, and we know he walks with us. Amen.